All right. Hey there, y'all. Welcome. Today, my guest is Katherine McCord, and we are personal friends, but she is here today for her HR expertise. So, briefly tell the people why you know about HR, and then I will tell you my tale of woe.
What I do. I've actually, I tell people my introduction to HR started when I was a child. I was actually around my mother's work, and I even played HR with her. I fired her when I was 5 years old, which is super rude. But but no, in all sincerity, I grew up. I got into HR and recruiting. I've been running my own consulting firm for the last almost 10 years. Actually, it's 10 years this May 1st, which is wonderful. I do a lot of speaking and teaching on the topics of innovation and inclusion and communication within HR across the country and even now into other countries as well. And then I also do a lot of work around neurodiversity and research around that as well.
Fantastic. All right. So now let me tell you what happened. And the reason I'm talking about this is because first I want to process it and get your expert insight. But also a lot of my clients have parents who, right, there's some tendencies, right? So my hope is that this will also be something that when this comes up in conversations with clients, I can say, oh yeah, it's not just you slash
Okay.
it's not just your parent. Like, here's some helpful advice. Check out this video. And also for the random people on the internet. Hi, randos.
Hi, Rachel.
Subscribe, stay for a while. All right. So Darren and I were walking in downtown Stewart last night, and there's this older boomery type guy, not ancient, but older. And he has a small dog on a long leash, which he is holding like the leash in his left hand because he has his phone in his right hand, which he is talking on, and the phone is on speakerphone.
Cool. Yeah. Lived it. I understand. Okay.
Yes. Right. So I have some thoughts already, and I have questions already. And I think the title for this is probably going to be What's Wrong with Boomers? And I will say, if you're a boomer and you're watching this, you're going to have one of two reactions. One might be, I don't do that, in which case this is not about you. It's okay. Not all of any group do the thing. If, however, you are triggered and you are dumping hate in my comments, this is about you. And I
might want to
invite you to be open to being a little self-reflective. So with that disclaimer out of the way, that's kind of my first question. And I will say sometimes I'm not super situationally aware. Okay. So I think this could happen to everybody, but I do notice this as a big trend, especially with white men of a certain age, where they are very comfortable taking up all the space. So there's more to the story, but let's just pause right there. So any thoughts generationally that would make it make sense?
Yeah. So I do, and I live and I study all of this kind of stuff because I debunk a lot of ism myths throughout all my talks, including ageism. I would say that number one, yes, there is a generational confidence that came with the boomer generation. And actually, it's not just the men, but a generational confidence of we are here and we get to take up the space.
Yeah. And some of that's good.
I was going to say, some of it is actually really terrific. Yeah. But as we start to get older, we also start to lose our filters. And that's true for every human, right? Every human. As we get older, we start to lose our filters. And so that's why people joke about how they like old people because just everything comes out of their mouths, right?
Yeah. And I was going to say some of that is good too. I'm, actively promoting this in myself to try to filter a bit less. But yeah,
it's great. However, it can also manifest in ways that are annoying, destructive, even harmful to oneself or to others. So I would say that, yes, there is definitely something to that, but not necessarily in a bad way. But yes, people do tend to, from that generation, have a very good, let's take up some space. And you started to see, and that is the generation where you actually started to see manners start to shift in terms of what people considered polite and not. That's my brief answer on that.
Which again, could be good, could be bad.
Yes. I think it's both
sides. All right. So, and also it is possible as we get older, could be hearing issues, could be sight issues, but just right. Like, so, there's 2 red flags right there. You got your dog. The way I was trained, the right way to hold a leash is like both hands. Like you got your emergency brake and your steering.
Well, or if it's a smaller dog,
you probably don't need that. But
you
again,
you can put it on your wrist and then hold it also.
Yeah.
But you want to hold them in public, always close to you. And also, I do animal rescue, by the way. I have foster number 69 in the other room. You always want to keep them close to you, A, so that they can better read your body language and how to respond, but also B, for the safety of everyone else. Anyway, go on with your story.
All right. So it was at least a 12, maybe a 20-foot long leash. The dog is like ranging out at the end of the leash.
So the dog is kind of, in downtown Stewart.
In downtown Stewart on the sidewalk. Yeah. And we're not the only other humans. Like this is like evening dinner time. Like,
spring break. So it's packed.
Stewart, it's not Times Square, New York, but there's like other humans. So, kind of like first complaint, I'm happy for you that you feel comfortable taking up space. Also, like, get your dog under control. You're not the only human on the planet. You're not even the only human on the sidewalk. This talking on speakerphone, in my opinion, is rude. My husband, like Darren and I were joking about it afterwards. He's like, I'm going to start collecting those airplane headphones and just hand them out to people that I see doing that on the street.
I could see him doing that, actually.
You seem to be unaware of this new invention. It's called headphones. And again, maybe there are some like hearing issues. I'm not saying that there are not reasons, but right. So dude's like taking up the whole space, both physically and auditorily. So Darren, we kind of split because we're both trying to get around him because we're walking faster than strolling old guy on the phone with the dog. He kind of splits to the left. He, I think, fairly loudly and fairly firmly says, "Excuse me," and tries to get around on the left. The guy kind of like wobbles to the left. So I see what I think is going to be a window of opportunity. I try to slide around on the right. And then just as I'm about to do that, and we're right, where Luna is. So we're like on the ocean side of Luna. So now like the sidewalk's getting smaller because there's tables on both sides of the sidewalk. I'm trying to like around. So like Darren can't get around because he's taken up all of that side. I can't get around because he's taken up all the right side. I thought I had, when he veered left, I thought I had room to go around on the right. And then he sort of like, staggered back this way. And I put my hand up, like I didn't touch the guy, but I had my hand up about like this because I was afraid he was going to come into me. It was like,
preparing for impact. Got it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I said, beep, beep. Which I will freely admit is weird. If I had like a half hour to prepare, I probably could have come out with like 8 optional.
But what was his reaction? This is what I need to know. How did he react?
It was not good. It did have the desired effect. And I swear to you, I said it in almost that tone. And I think
I know you. I know how, like, I can hear it in my mind. Yeah.
Right. Like, and we do that. Like my brother does it. I don't know if it was something that like we picked up growing up, but my brother does it. Yeah, I do it to the dog. If Darren's got his table up.
That's how I've seen you do it to Taylor, and you've done it to me. Like when we were in the kitchen, you
like,
beeped at me. It's fine.
Yeah,
this is not a criticism.
To admit, okay, so how did I might be the weirdo.
What did he do?
So
yeah, okay, but even if you are, so what? You weren't rude.
He lost his shit. You're hearing this story from my impression, from my perspective. But he had a big reaction with big feelings that he felt very comfortable expressing. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But I felt it was like a lightning bolt from about like here, like right in the core of my being. I had a nervous system reaction. So he's like, beep, 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 that's rude, and like starts bitching me out about how rude I am. And I was like, and I, again, right?
Well, I
Like,
have a question. I want to pause this real quick.
yeah.
So, first of all, you said that you felt the initial nervous response.
When he started going off on me about being rude.
As this human has, I'm guessing, raised his voice.
Yes. I wouldn't call it yelling, but it was definitely like an angry tone, raised voice.
Is he coming towards you at all or leaning towards you?
But by that point, like I said, beep, beep, and like, whoop, like went around. So he's kind of like receding off behind us. We kind of carry on walking. But he like, again, right as I like, beep, beep, and like come around, he's like, beep, beep, that's rude. And like starts going off. Meanwhile, right, like he's still got his buddy on speakerphone.
Yeah, but hold on. But is he physically coming towards you or is he physically still?
I mean, like we both had momentum in the same direction, but I didn't feel like he was physically, like I didn't feel like he was being like, not really. He wasn't closing the distance. Yeah. Yeah.
He wasn't being attacking. So sorry, this is like HR. Like, I'm trying to hear the facts
so that I can then verbally attacky, but not I would not say there was aggressive body.
So he's mouthing off.
Yeah.
He's doing the bark. Okay. So how did you then respond to him?
Well, and I will say, like, in reflecting on it, I'm like, you know what, that might, like, I didn't love it, but he, again, complete lack of situational awareness. I might have startled him.
I need you to do me a favor. I don't need the extra, like, thoughts. I just need to know the facts. This is the HR. See,
okay, we're being HR now.
Just the facts. Just the facts.
Yeah.
So so he said to you that was rude. Then what happened? Like the actual thing that happened.
He's now like, as I'm walking away with my back to him, continuing to lecture me on how to not be rude in what I interpret as an angry tone.
So when he's saying lecture you, is he like specifically giving you instructions on how to not be rude, or is he just saying
how I should have done it? He's like, beep, beep, that's rude. I can't believe you did that. I can't believe, I'm kind of paraphrasing. I can't believe you acted that way. He's like, you should have said, excuse me. Well, meanwhile, Darren has kind of like merged back in from passing on the other side. Yeah. And Darren, who has a different energy.
He does.
Darren says, I did say, excuse me. It had no effect. And the guy, I will say, like, I'll give the guy credit. He like kind of tamped down. I don't know if like, it was like a hierarchy thing, if he like started playing the smaller dog, or if he realized like, oh, was I like, I don't know what was going on.
This person has no situational awareness. Okay, so let me.
So he kind of backed down when Darren said that. We're continuing to walk away after like kind of collecting himself from his interaction with Darren. Then he goes back to lecturing and berating me about, but you shouldn't have said beep, beep. That's just rude. You shouldn't have done that. And I'm just like, we're walking. I'm so, and this is the part, like, for me, we won't get into that just yet, but yeah, let me pause right there. But yeah, he keeps going after me.
Reactions. Okay. I don't need to know reactions yet. So so he's following you. When does he stop following you?
Well, we're both going in the same direction and we're just walking faster, which is why we needed to pass. So he just kind of like fades away into the sunset.
Communicating with you. When does he stop communicating with you?
We're walking away. We're getting further away from him. We're still in earshot. He goes back to his speakerphone conversation with his buddy and is like, sorry to interrupt our conversation. Somebody was just really rude to me. Yeah.
Go back to the thing. Okay. So here are the first things. So you said you wanted like the HR opinion. So the first thing
and I'm not like, can we fire him? But just like, what's going on with this guy?
The first thing that I can tell you about this human, just from the description of how he was moving about the world, is that this is a person that is unaware that other humans matter. And here's why. Number one, when you have a dog and it's that far ahead of you, you are not considering trip factor. You are not considering even safety of the dog. You're not considering safety of other humans. You are not considering what might happen to the dog. You're not considering any of these things. You are also just taking up entirely too much space on the sidewalk. It's a crowded area right now. It's spring break. I know it. I was there yesterday as well, by the way, at a different time. I know how packed it is. You are just being rude. And you are creating actually more congestion. So you are not self-aware.
That guy.
So this is a human that is not self-aware. Mm-hmm. This is a human that is self-centered because we are not thinking of other humans. That is also evident by the speaking on speakerphone loudly. He's not considering how that, might affect other people's conversations or the appropriateness of this or anything like this. The fact that he felt emboldened to come towards you. And first of all, what you said was not at all rude. It might have been odd. And I mean, that's debatable. That's debatable even. But let's say it's odd. Let's just say it's odd.
Yeah.
There was nothing rude about it.
Yeah.
And different communication is not inherently rude.
Mm.
And we have to leave room for other cultures, things like that. Something that some people are not good at doing. And so it is, so there's that, there is that he came after you even after Darren said something to him. And what's interesting to me is he took Darren's correction, but then kept attacking you because that was a safe attack.
I think that's exactly it.
And what's interesting about that behavior is that it showed a sense of self-preservation, but not a sense of self-awareness. Those are two very different concepts. So he was not aware enough to stop and go, wait, behavior may not be good. Or even, this behavior could still cause this person to punch me in the face. He immediately, he doesn't know Darren. Darren may just get tired of his mouth and go off and pop him in the face. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
It's Darren's not that type, but it could have theoretically. Okay, let me put it this way. Darren is not the type that's not the go-to with Darren. We'll say that. That is not the go-to with Darren. Not that he would never, but that's not the go-to.
Yeah.
And so this person does not have good self-awareness. He does not have good situational awareness. He clearly had not realized you were with this other human. He clearly had not heard Darren. He is not a self-aware human. He is also somebody who has entitlement problems. This is, if I were in an HR situation, we would be talking about how to manage our egos, what we do and do not have authority over, what we do and do not have the right to do in terms of other people and their autonomies. We would be having a lot of conversations with this person. Because everything about this is, I am all about me. I am not aware of these other things. I do not care about these other things. And I will attack at something that I do not like. And it was not even appropriately handled. Why not just turn and say, I'm sorry, that just caught me as a little bit rude.
Yeah. And honestly, if I startled him and he kind of got activated, because I was probably like I said, I was close enough that I put my hand up because I thought, and that's why I said something was, because if saying beep beep is scary, having somebody touch you that you don't know is there would have been much more alarming. So I'm totally open to the possibility that I kind of startled him and it felt like a boundary violation, and anger is an
100%.
appropriate response.
That's
why the fact that he was able to calm himself when Darren spoke back to him means he did have some emotional control.
Mm-hmm.
But then the fact that he went back for a double scoop on me, I'm like,
it's not really emotional control, though, I don't think. I think that it's more recognition that I'm going to get the reaction I want here, not here. Or that I have more potential to get the reaction that I want here, not here. That is a very typical, for lack of a better term, I have different terminology for this, but a terminology that most other humans react. That's a beta male. And in the animal kingdom, that is a beta male technique.
That it's safe to be aggressive with the females, but if
well, not the females, but one that I perceive as not the dominant in the situation. So in his mind, you know, and that is, by the way, a biological response. We all have it just as wolves do, just as big cats do. And oh, I didn't introduce this as part of my bio. I used to also work with big cats and work with wolves and wolf packs. So I've gotten to observe a lot of this up close and personal. And you start to realize how much humans still carry these behaviors and these interactions and these subtle little cues in our body language. And I see people like that, and what they in a wolf pack, as an example, if they know, like, I can't fight the alpha, like the alpha goes stop, they'll turn around to another person that's at their level and keep going, and they'll keep talking all the sass, and they'll keep fighting and being little jerks, unless the alpha steps up and goes, no. Like, we're not doing that today.
Yeah.
And so some people say bullying, some people say beta behavior, some people just say they're being a jerk. That's me. It's just a need to get out their emotions, because they don't have the ability to process it in a healthy way, nor do they have the respect for others to think, oh, gee, I probably shouldn't be a dick to this person, or maybe I was being a dick. Like, there's no respect for others. There's no thought of others. So it's just a very primitive baseline kind of response.
Gotcha. So that explains kind of like,
that's my guess from
what happened and why he reacted. And I've seen that. We at one point had 3 female German Shepherds, which I do not recommend to anyone watching at home. But it was fine. Like, honestly, they were less work than this one, who has like fear issues and doesn't like going to the vet. But anyway, you would see that, right? Where there was definitely a pecking order. And if the top dog snarled at the middle dog would like vent the frustration. Like, well, I'm still better than you. And the little one's like, huh? So that that all makes sense. Let's kind of,
I know, like, you have a kind, like, Southern lady type of demeanor. So it's not even like you were giving off weak vibes or anything like that. It was
okay,
just
good. That makes me feel better. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just that you won't attack me back. So it's kind of like, so I had a foster dog. I'm going to compare you to a pit bull. I had a foster dog who just had no menace. And so other dogs would just attack her, like, because she just clearly, like, jerk dogs, not all dogs, because she just clearly was not going to do anything back. And she would just sit there like, why are you biting me? Like, I don't understand. And she was perfectly, like, nice and strong, and she would stand up for herself to an extent, but she wouldn't bite, and she wouldn't actually fight. And then somehow it's like they knew that. And so that's kind of more the vibe that I'm thinking he got, is like, oh, she's not going to like haul off and punch me in the face, or the verbal equivalent of that.
Yeah. And this actually goes back to a conversation we had where and this is not something that I'm like actively working on or trying to figure out how to do. It's very like aspirational about like, right? Because it's a nervous system reaction. It's like fight.
Yes.
What is it? Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And so my go-to is to try to like just avoid the drama. When the drama does come up, I usually go into like flee, freeze, and fawn. So, and that's worked, right? Like, I'm still alive.
You've not died. Good job.
In some ways, it is safer than the fight response. So I don't know that I'm like actively going to try to cultivate that. But I do really respect the hell out of people who have that, while it can be dangerous, because like at least you have that ability to stand up for yourself. And so like I kind of aspirationally would like to be able to like say something back when be like,
this is the real reason you chose me, because you know I have an automatic fight response.
You're fighty, and it's cool.
I am fighty, and I have 2 different modes of fighty. So I have in a way 3, because the second one is kind of divided into 2. So I have the like just professional HR type of just, no, we're not doing that here today. This is not the thing that is going to happen.
I like that one. That one feels safe.
And it is. And it tends to disarm people in a way that they're just like, it's almost like they just don't know what to do with it because you didn't give them anything back.
Yeah.
Like, they're like,
yeah.
no, just like, oh, to do it. And they're just sitting there like,
decline.
Okay, well, all right. Yeah, no to you. Just no. The other is that I go into what I call the Sasha Wolf response. I had an alpha gray wolf that lived with us for quite some time, and when she wanted to shut something down, she went until she was satisfied that you had been sufficiently crushed. Like, and you needed to be like in a ball, like, eh. I mean, not me personally, but whatever it was that she was going after. And there are kind of 2 versions of that. There's an eloquent version, and then there's like the fact that I grew up in the hood for a while comes out. So there's kind of both. So, and there's good and there's good things to be said for I think all of the approaches in the right setting, because sometimes you also have to know your enemy. And sometimes I'm specifically catering it to what I'm up against. Like I might need to speak their language, so to speak. Like you need to understand like what this is and what's going to happen to you. And sometimes it's, I want to teach a lesson that you were not allowed to do this. And then sometimes I just don't want to deal with it. So I'm just like, whatever's the, like, whatever. And then occasionally they catch me in a mood where I'm like not in control of the emotions, and then they just get whatever comes out. But it's, I do, the thing that I like about that response system is that it always does leave me feeling confident and safe. And like, I made my point.
Yeah.
That this was not an okay behavior. And I try as much as possible to go with the HR version of things. But occasionally you've got to go some other directions with it. So, but I know what you mean. But I don't think that it's a cowardly response to do otherwise. But one thing I've had people ask me, and especially in work settings, how to do that. How do you stand up for yourself? When,
like,
what do you do? And the first thing I tell people is, and actually you started to kind of do this just to get away from them, but you had like the right motion.
Yeah.
Is you put your hand up and just right here, like your the middle of your forearm should still be touching your body. So like right in front of you, just say, yeah, no, don't ever put your hands on someone's face. That's an act of aggression. But just keep your hand right here and just say no. Even if it's verbal, I completely just no. And they're just automatically going to go, wait, what? There'll be like wait, what's happening? Say, no, that behavior is not acceptable to me. And then and you can either explain why, or you can just turn around and walk away at that point. And now you have established that this was not okay. You stood your ground, but you're not perpetuating the argument, and you can just keep going.
Yeah.
About your way.
So now, this seems like, and hopefully your parents are delightful and you don't have this challenge, but a lot of my clients, there's a lot of intergenerational, because this guy's behavior is not, he's probably not the only gentleman, or like you said, sometimes I think that's where the Karen concept comes from. That's the female version of this guy. And again, right? Yeah. Not everybody, but there's a lot of this. And so it's that question of, how do I have like my self-esteem intact and some sort of boundary, and also not escalate things. So what you did was really good. And I think like we can use this on, if we're willing to walk out of the room or maybe end the visit, like this can be used on adult.
Oh, anything.
So parents, right?
I know a lot about setting boundaries with family. I have a family, not so much my household, although there was a time when I had to do that with some members of my household family, but there are definite boundaries with family members, like aunts, uncles, cousins, all of that, grandparents. I've had, but not the ones that are still living, but other ones. And you have to be able to say that your safety and your sanity matter. And we have to get past this idea that we owe something to our family. We absolutely 100% do not. Okay. You don't even really owe anything to your parents because they chose to bring you into this world and they chose that that's something that they wanted to do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They said, this is the thing that sounds good to me. I'm going to participate in this.
Mm-hmm.
And they chose that. You do not owe them anything. And when you can really let that process in, you start to realize how empowering that is and how much autonomy you have, that you are not stuck with these humans. You are absolutely not. And you can do the things that you need to do. So I like to put people in boxes. I tell people like there's boxes. There are, or like you can think of it as levels,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's levels of relationship. And you can move between the levels based on the things, you know, that you do and how well you respect boundaries and all of this. But you have to know where to put people and how to work with them. So start by letting people know what you will or will not accept. And I just say it like that. Like I said earlier, this is not acceptable to me. And you're not saying you can't do that. You're saying this is not acceptable. There's nothing to argue with. Just like, no, nope, this is not a thing. And then you have to follow it up with action, just like with a child, right? It's you tell them the boundary. If they hit up against it and they're trying to go to the other side of it, you don't talk to them. And it can be for a week, it can be for a month, be for a year, but don't talk to them. Set that boundary hard and say, I would like to, and then you can reach back out and say, I would like to have you back in my life, but I need you to understand this boundary has not moved.
Dun, dun, dun.
Or, and I need you to understand. I don't like the word but, and I need you to understand this boundary has not moved. Does that work for you? And then it's in their court. Does this boundary work for you? Yeah. And that's it. It's just boundary setting. It's just like, here's the thing. And then put people in boxes. Like this one, I just go out to drink with. This one over here and I are super close. You know, this one I can actually rely on to like really be there for me, you know, and then it can kind of move around as needed. But know people and know like some people you can trust for some things and not for others. Like people think that trust is like this blankety thing. And I'm like, no.
Yeah. I think of it as like if you think of like a bullseye, like a target, I think of it at like concentric rings, right? So there's like strangers, there's acquaintances, there's, you know, Facebook friends, there's like actual friends, right? And then there's like friends that, like you said, are good for a drink or a night out or dinner.
Yeah. And then there's like actual
travel with.
Yeah. That's the closest one in for me because I'm very picky.
like that's when, because people can't be polite while also dealing with weird food and unexpected circumstances and things not going right. And like, you have a hard time even with your significant other, you add that in. That's like the biggest challenge. So, all right. Well, I feel like we should probably for time pause right there. So let's tell, and after we say goodbye to the people, stay on. But go ahead and tell the folks if they have more questions about HR stuff, if they want to hire you to come and speak on some of these topics, how can the people get in touch with you?
If anybody ever wants to get in touch with me or ask questions, even about my personal life, so first of all, I have no filter. Like if you want to ask me questions about stuff with my family, stuff I've gone through in my life, how I set these boundaries, how I deal with mental health stuff, anything like that, please reach out to me directly. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on Facebook through Lisa. Reach out to me and I am always happy to help. I also have a speaker site, which is kmccordspeaking.com.
Yay. All right. Thank you so much for being on, and we'll see everyone later.